Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the full moon. It's on November 15. It's at 24 degrees of Taurus, and this particular full moon is making a conjunction with Uranus, which is our opportunity to pivot. Unfortunately, this is a Taurus full moon, so this is kind of like asking a freight train to make a U-turn. What does that mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Every once in a while, the full moon makes a conjunction with Uranus. Uranus is the planet of disruption and change and can bring some excitement. The last time this happened was November 8, 2022. So this was about 2 years ago, and so you might want to look back in your schedule and see what you were doing at that time. Maybe you keep a journal. I looked back in my calendar and found that this was the time when the publisher Llewellyn reached out to me to write a Chinese astrology book for them. Of course, I had written an annual Chinese astrology book for 12 years, and so this is going to be a general book that is now coming out in January. So this one event that happened 2 years ago now has rippled through my life and has affected more than 2 years of my life. And so looking back in your calendar, check the dates from November 1st all the way to November 15, 2022, and see what happened in your life and if that had some sort of repercussions. And that's how it happens sometimes, you know, that we'll get an aspect like this, and then because astrology cycles, that we can see it repeating. And so the energy can be similar, but of course we're different. You know, you have grown, you have changed, you have now more experience, and you have an inner strength about you because of your past experiences. And so you're more able each time the cycle comes to take hold of opportunities that this could bring. Of course, if you want help interpreting your chart and the transits that are happening, I do readings. There's a link in the description. In a reading, we cover your questions about the present and the future. Also, if you want a copy of your chart, I can send that to you. This chart has a lot of information. That PDF is free. There's a link in the description for that. And then finally, I have a monthly newsletter that comes out that I talk about the different transits for the month. That newsletter is free, and that link is in the description. All right, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries. In general, when there is some need to make a change, we expect Aries to make that change. But the truth is that if you're born an Aries, it is quite possible that your Mercury or Venus or both are in the sign of Taurus, which is that determination, grit, and being resolute about something, and which is wonderful, but it can make it difficult for you to make a change or seize an opportunity when it arrives. So for you, for this time, this opportunity could come in the area of money, or a new source of revenue, or something to do with your finances. And it is asking you to consider to make a change or pivot. So of course this could mean that it's time to make a change in your spending habits. It's possible that this is about your job or a revenue source. Maybe it's a new revenue source. You want to keep an eye out because something like this is going to be fairly quiet, fairly subtle. And that's why a lot of times it can be easy to miss. So you want to keep your eyes open for the opportunity. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though the sun's not making an aspect with Mars, Mars is in the sign of Leo, so you have a hidden aspect because Leo is ruled by the sun. So that means that there aren't love opportunities for you. You put yourself in the right place and then love can happen. Of course, that's kind of obvious if you're in the right place, but it does mean that getting out into the world is the right thing to do. So if you're looking for love, you know, consider saying yes to parties, yes to social events, meet new people. You can find someone at this time. Now, Mars is going to go through the sign of Leo, basically on and off, because Mars is going to go retrograde in December. but it'll go on and off for a couple of months. So in fact, I think until like next April. So you have a lot of time where we're going to be talking about opportunities for you for romance. But this month you have some opportunities, and so there you go. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mars is making an inconjunct to Venus. So basically the bottom line problem is you are trying to solve something or come together with, but having two very different points of view. So kind of like you want to have dessert, but your partner wants to go snorkeling. It's very difficult to do those things at the same time. So when you are having any sort of discussion with your partner, recognize that you may not understand exactly where they're coming from, and assume that they don't understand where you're coming from. And by asking some more questions, you can help kind of find what is in common. I shouldn't say that, because there's actually nothing in common with dessert and snorkeling. So it's more that one of you is going to have to make an adjustment. One of you either has to give up dessert or give up snorkeling. I can just see the headlines now. Astrologer destroys snorkeling industry. Yeah, there you go. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Venus, which is right at the top of the chart, and this full moon is lighting up your money house. So this is very much about being seen. The more you can be seen, the more opportunities you're going to get. Now, of course, that could mean that you are seen in the very physical way. That's, being on social media or media in general, or, going out and doing lectures or presentations or sending out sales letters and doing marketing. But there's also being seen spiritually. And so that could be through your prayer, meditation, affirmations, visualization. So the most important thing right now, if you want to make more money, is to be seen. Now, when it comes to money from business or investments, Venus is making an out-of-sign semi-sextile to Pluto. And I know that's not the strongest of aspects, but there's also, of course, the full moon happening in these houses, so that's exceedingly strong. So what this all adds up to be is very big opportunities for you, but they are coming from either an unexpected avenue, or it is because you are doing something that is the small things, the little nitpicky things. Let's say you have a business where you've got a sales team, but it's you that pick up the phone to answer a sales call, and that's the biggest sale of the month. Or this is you maybe tweaking something on your website, doing something that you have been putting off, and suddenly people are more able to buy from you. And the same type of thing with investments is just you're doing something that is a little bit more getting rid of some small irritation, and somehow that is bringing you a bigger opportunity. Now, when it comes to money from your career, so that would be a paycheck, you have a hidden aspect between Venus and Uranus, and that is that Uranus is in Taurus, ruled by that Venus. So that means that it's not going to be your boss coming to you and offering you more money. And it may not be you going into the boss's office and demanding more money, but through a conversation, something about making more money can come up, and then you're ready to seize on that and say, all right, since you mentioned this, let's talk about this. So watch for those little opportunities that could surface during this time where you could bring up the topic that you are all ready to discuss. Okay, Taurus, you are already very familiar with freight train energy, because one of your strengths is your ability to stay on a track, to be determined and focused, and to plow forward no matter what the obstacles. However, it can be hard for you sometimes to switch tracks. And this is one of those times where the universe is suggesting that switching tracks might be a good idea. Now, this energy is all centered on relationships for you. And so that may be that you are looking at different relationships in your life, and it's time to ask some questions about those relationships. Like, Is this relationship heading in a good direction? Does it need to change in some way? Does the relationship does the relationship need to need more of your time to move forward? Does it need to, stop and end, and does it need to be something you let go of? So with those sort of questions, as you go through the list of your different types of relationships, because this could include business partnerships or longtime friendships, any close relationships, as you look at those relationships and you challenge those relationships, that's when the universe will give you the signal of whether it's time to change tracks. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Mercury, not surprisingly. So it does look like it's more challenging right now to meet someone for a love relationship. That said, the full moon is in this area of relationships for you. So it may be that someone that you dated once a long time ago, or that you knew casually, or you knew in a different capacity, now comes forward and starts to talk to you about a love relationship. So that is possible, but in general, right now, the focus is on relationships that are already established in your life. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the Venus is making an out-of-sign semi-sextile to Pluto, and it's making an inconjunct to Mars. And so both of these aspects say that you and your partner, while you're trying to work out something, you're coming from very different vantage points, and you're having trouble understanding the other person's point of view, or what they're really getting at. And that's true both directions. So that means they don't really understand what you're getting at either. So you may need to sit down with your partner, especially if you need to work out some things such as, how to coordinate a move or buy a house, or to do something for the kids, and define your terms and ask each other, how the other person is seeing this coming out, and, do they even want to talk about it, etc. So again, you may find it challenging to work out anything really big during this 2-week period. You may just want to wait until outside of this period and then work on it, because this energy will line up better in the future. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Mercury, which is in a money house, so that's really good. And it's saying that it's time to go ask for money. And that might mean that you are going to people who owe you money and saying, please pay me. This might mean a marketing campaign for your business, or this may mean that you are just telling people that you want money and, asking for a job, asking for a loan, asking for a gift, a donation. So Mercury is going to go retrograde later this month, and we'll talk about that in the next video, but that's going to give you extra time to work on this. So, but this is some good energy for you. As long as you are asking for money, you could receive it. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury is making an opposition to Jupiter, and they are in what we call mutual reception. And that is that Mercury's in Sagittarius, which is ruled by the Jupiter. Jupiter's in Gemini, which is ruled by the Mercury. So these two planets are closer than they have been in I can't even do the math. I would say, I don't know, at least 12 years. So this is really good energy for you right now. You want to capitalize on this. This is a time to expand your business, to move forward. Of course, this is full moon time, so whatever expansion you have done over the last 2 weeks, you want to announce. Because Mercury is going to go retrograde, you're going to have a couple more weeks of this than normal, which is great. So you have a lot of opportunities between now and even the end of the year, maybe even longer. We'll talk about that in future videos. Now, when it comes to money from your career, so that would be a paycheck, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, and so we don't have as strong an energy. But because your money area is lit up with what we were talking about before, there's still some chances, but it's not as strong, or it's certainly not as strong for you getting the yes on this raise within the 2-week period. So you may want to wait. Again, like these energies are going to continue to line up for you for many weeks. So you're going to have some opportunities. So you may just want to wait to ask for a raise until outside of this 2-week period. Okay, Gemini, the interesting thing about being Gemini is that you do have an ability to make changes and pivot, but if you are born Gemini, it is quite likely, or I shouldn't say likely, it's quite possible that you have Venus or Mercury in Taurus, which means that you have all of the determination and that power, but it can make it really hard for you to change. So when you are looking at your chart, it's possible, or even when you're looking at your past history, it's possible for you to see whether change has been easy for you or not. If change has been difficult in the past, then you may find this time difficult as new opportunities come in that you're hesitant about grabbing hold of them. Now, this full moon is lighting up your area of spiritual connection, your connection with the universe, and it talks about you visualizing what it is that you want and sending that message outward. Now, the reason to do that is so that the universe has some idea and then can send you the signs and the signposts that will tell you what road to take. It's sometimes hard to visualize the future, because there are so many different factors. And so when we talk about that, it's not about visualizing everything that's going to happen, nor is it about getting so specific that it takes the universe decades to send it to you, but instead getting a general idea of the direction you'd like to go. And that can be, if you're saying to yourself, I think I would like to live in a cottage by the sea, then you start to visualize that, and maybe the universe sends you a cottage, but it's in the mountains, and you say, okay, maybe I'll try that. No, that's too far away, and so forth. And so from there, you can wind your way to that place. So, but in that, you're not necessarily saying, I need this much money, and it has to happen on Tuesday, and, everybody has to agree. It's just a general vision. And that's what this is talking about, is to have that general vision and then watch for the signs that happen. Sometimes the universe says, oh no, we do need you in the mountains, or we need you in the plains. We don't need you in the ocean, by the ocean. So sometimes that happens. And when you give that vision, then you get the messages. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's not making an aspect with Venus. However, Mercury is in a relationship house, so that usually means that there's someone who wants to go out with you, but either you don't want to go out with them, or you miss their message, or you didn't quite understand that they were asking you out because the way they did it. So it's possible that a friend might come to you and say, hey, that person was asking you out. But it's also possible that this is someone who is asking you out, but you're not considering that relationship for some reason. And so in the future, there will be some opportunities, but that's the energy for this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the energy is exceptionally strong right now. That is that Mercury is making an opposition to Jupiter, and the two planets are in mutual reception. Mutual reception is when the two planets rule each other. And so in this case, Mercury is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. So we have the two planets having this very intimate conversation together, and that's what the two of you can have in your existing love relationship. You can have very deep conversations where you work out a lot of things, where you can come to compromises and understandings where you haven't been able to before. You're more on the same page during this time, and you can do plans and think about the future. The two of you are kind of walking in step together. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the moon, which is conjunct Uranus, which is this pivot that we've been talking about. So it's extremely important for you to look at what you're doing with your money and how you're making money and start asking questions. when you ask questions, and these are questions of more the how questions or maybe the what questions rather than the why questions. So why questions are, why is this happening to me, or why does this always happen to me? Those questions are not so helpful, but the questions of how can I double my income in the next couple of months? How can I change jobs and make it seamless? What can I do to increase money in my business? Those sort of questions are extremely helpful. And with this conjunction between Moon and Uranus could give you some, not just some answers, but also some surprising things where, you go into your inbox and you find, lo and behold, someone is making you an offer or suggesting a business or something like that. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. And the moon is in this very contemplative sort of hidden space. And so what you are doing is probably manifesting outside this 2-week period. So that means that, the extra profits or, the result from sales and all that is coming later. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't work on it. You're making probably about the same as usual. So, but over the next 2 weeks, the extra money, that's a little bit more difficult to get because there's just no aspect. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, there is no aspect going on between the moon and Mars. So what we see here is that if you're asking for a raise, they're just going to put you off. They're going to say, talk to us at the end of the year. Mars is going to go retrograde in December. That could bring the topic back if it has been discussed, but it's more likely that that could create more delays. So you may want to find other perks that you can ask for, see if there's some other revenue source that you can open up. This is a really good time to get inspiration and get opportunities, as I said. So, but focusing on that single source of income, you're probably going to be making the same during this 2-week period. Okay, Cancer. You're doing this freight train energy like everybody else, but you're a cardinal sign, and so you generally can pivot. You can make changes when new opportunities arise. Now, the one caveat to that is you are also a water sign, and water signs can emotionally hold on to things, even though externally a lot of stuff is changing. So now this pivot is happening in your area of friendships and community, so it's possible there is some change that of an emotional nature going on, which could make you more resistant to it. It's also about technology and the changes going on in the world, and so there may also be you embracing new technology and just riding the wave, or you may, from that Cancerian place, say, like this is moving too fast, or I don't like emotionally where it's going, and so then you're trying to dig in your heels and stop this. So, but the energy is here, and so it is asking that you do go a different direction. And so looking at what you can change when it comes to friendships, and especially like groups and organizations you belong to, how you're interacting with the community, but also maybe attitudes around technology. That doesn't mean that you need to run out and embrace all technologies, but it may be more of the emotional energy of it as to stop resisting and just go with the flow a little bit. And it's quite possible that what happens here is that you make a breakthrough when it comes to some sort of technology where you suddenly realize, oh, I've got it, or you pass a course, or you find that you've hit some sort of new level. And, even in friendships, it's possible right now that you will meet someone who becomes a very close friend, even as you're having to let go of someone who is moving across country or is now in a relationship or that you two have just grown apart. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a trine with Pluto. That is extremely good energy. Pluto's in your house of relationships. The moon's in your house of friendships. It's really easy, especially to convert a friendship into a love relationship or an acquaintance into someone that you want to get to know much better. So you have really good energy. So it's time for a date. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Moon and Saturn, which means in general that the two of you are just doing your lives. You don't have the connection right now or the energy to solve any big problems. You can handle all the little stuff, somebody's getting the food and somebody's doing the laundry and all of that. But if only one person's doing that and they want to work it out with the other, that's difficult at this time because there's no aspect going on. That means that there's a little less progress as a couple. But when it just comes to your lives, the two of you are just, running along side by side, but maybe not in sync with each other right now. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the sun, which is making that opposition to Uranus. So that is to both look at what other people are doing differently and who is making changes and how they're making changes and seeing if any of that information is relevant in your life. But it's also when others, especially trusted others, have suggested changes, to go back and look and see if you did those suggestions, if you were too busy at the time, if that's something you need to look at. And then finally, of course, there could be some surprise information that comes to you that is an opportunity for money. It may be outside your comfort zone because the sun is going through your house of risk taking. So, but you have enough of a support system perhaps now in place with some of these aspects I'm seeing that could mean that you are ready to take on something bigger and, to expand something in your world with this new opportunity. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, like I said, Sun is making an opposition to Uranus. So in this particular case, this means that the two of you may be on opposite sides of an issue, but there is some middle ground that you can find. So even if your sales prospect says no, that oftentimes means that they are just trying to regain some sort of power or control over the negotiations, but that the conversation still can continue. So you want to find that common ground between the two of you. So right now, like a seesaw, you're maybe on opposite sides, but as you can inch closer together, then you find that there's a direct connection between the two of you. So finding that common ground can help you make more money. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that's like a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect with the sun. However, the whole full moon is lighting up this energy, this area, and so that indicates that there is an opportunity here. However, the actual money will probably come outside the 2-week period. This may be something you were discussing with them already, and now you're going to get the yes. Now you're getting closer to it, or they are saying, yeah, we do have something in mind for you, but we're going to talk about it a little bit later. So it's just whatever you've been working on seems to be moving forward. It's just not concluding at this time. Okay, Leo, where you may be the freight train, where you are barreling down a direction and there is a need for change, is in your career. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that this is a job change. This could mean that you are taking the helm and deciding what you want to change about your career. And that might mean changing your hours or changing your department, applying for different positions within your company, or expanding your side business so that that can one day be your main business. So all of those things are possible, but while you're doing this energy, or let's say it is, if you're not doing this energy, the universe may do it for you and help a change happen in your life. And sometimes you can get a little bit focused. You know, Leo is a fixed sign, and so you do have a little bit of that determination and grit that we would associate with the freight train, so you have that energy already. So that's what you want to watch out for. It's really interesting too because Mars is now in your sign, and so you have extra energy. So is that energy to dig in your heels and stop the world from spinning, or is this that you have the extra energy so that you can change directions? That's your choice. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the Sun is making an inconjunct with Jupiter. The interesting energy of this is that you could meet someone who is so different than you were expecting, but there's such chemistry, there's such a connection, there is a spark, but either you meet them in a place that you never expected to meet someone, or they are so different than your usual type that everyone is, including yourself, is very surprised. So because there is an aspect, you can meet someone, but because it is the inconjunct, you may say to yourself, wow, I did not expect this. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the Sun's making an opposition to Uranus. And so that means that one of you is making a change. And that then the other person needs to react to that change or accommodate that change. So in an opposition, of course, it's a little bit like a seesaw where you're on one side or the other, and the way to make things work is to come together in the middle. But there was, now I can't remember the author, who had this great analogy of you're in the middle of your house and your front door bell rings at the same time someone's knocking at the back door, and so you feel torn about which direction to go. So with both of these ideas, though, choices have to be made. And so this is, are you going to accommodate whatever your partner is changing, or can you help them accommodate what you're changing, so the two of you can find a meeting in the middle so that the seesaw doesn't rock back and forth, or that you say, well, I'm certainly not going to answer the back door because why would someone knock at the back door? So I'll go answer the front door. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the Sun is making an opposition to Uranus. That means that one of you is making the change. And so if you're not going to make this change that we talked about, then your partner may be making a big life change, and then the two of you need to come together to find some way to assimilate that or to compromise so that you're still together. And so that is, you want to be on the same page, but you're coming from opposite sides. So if you are making the change, then you want to help your partner accommodate to the changes that are happening. And if they're making the change, you want to try to accommodate what they're going through. And when then you come together, then you no longer do the seesaw, the wild swings back and forth, but you are together, a united front. When it comes to your money, you pull money from Mercury, which is in your house of creativity and risk-taking. And so you may have a million ideas right now. And some of these ideas, they are something that you can act on right away. Some of these are maybe bigger projects. The important thing right now is to get these down in some sort of note-taking app or on paper, and so that you can start to break them down to see if they're really viable, or are these just, a passing idea that you don't necessarily have the means to act on. So this Mercury is making a trine to Chiron, and so the thing you don't want to do is to take these ideas and then say, wow, that's a good idea, and then just toss it aside. These are something that it's necessary for you to explore them, even if you've had losses in the past, even if you've had what you would call failures in the past. The new ideas you're going to do differently. And so it's time to focus on basically the new ideas, let go of past hurts about money issues that you've had, and write down the ideas so that you can then flesh them out into a plan. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you're doing pretty well, because even though the Mercury's not making an aspect to Neptune, it is making an opposition to Jupiter, and these two are in mutual reception. So you have a really strong Mercury-Jupiter connection. That means that you are really intuitively figuring out what your clients need. You are following your gut. You're finding the information that you need. Like, you ask a question and the answer appears. And this is all kinds of resources for you, for your business. So that means knowledge or help or material help. So this is a time where I would expect that you are making more money than usual. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be your paycheck, the Mercury is, again, making that perfect opposition to Jupiter, where we have the mutual reception. That is that Mercury's in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. So even if they weren't in an aspect, they are still talking to each other. And that's the energy for you getting a raise, is that you and your supervisor can have a conversation. You're on the same page. You have a shared experience. So it's like there's a way to help each other so that you benefit and your supervisor benefits. And so this is an excellent time to be asking your supervisor if you can sit down and talk about your career trajectory, your future, and a raise. Okay, Virgo. Where you may be a freight train right now is in the area of beliefs and ideas. And these sort of truths that you have, in your heart and in your mind may be where you need to challenge or put some new information in. But right now, being a freight train, you can't. Or at least it's very, very difficult to do. Now, you're not normally a freight train at all, so you are a mutable sign and you are very good about collecting information, but sometimes you can get such solid evidence towards something, the best way of doing something, or the best thing that society should have, or something like that, that you're not letting new information in. And this can be a problem sometimes, because then it can cause limiting beliefs and that stop you from your own success. So what the universe is suggesting here is to throw some new information in to challenge existing beliefs. And you might do that by asking yourself, kind of those Uranus types of questions. A Uranus type of question would be, what is the exact opposite of what I believe, and why is that also true? Or what's another way of looking at this if I was, very rich, or if I was very poor, or if I lived in this country or that country. So asking yourself these kind of hypotheticals can open up a new way of thinking for you, and that in turn helps you remove blocks that you may not see that you've put on yourself. And basically, that's how you get the train to change tracks. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making... Hold on, I have to check. Mercury is making a square to Saturn. And the interesting thing about this is Saturn currently is stationary. It is going direct. And so that means that pretty soon, and soon by Saturn's standpoint, it's going to be moving forward. Right now, it's not moving at all. And so this may mean that you are stuck on an idea about love, or stuck on a person and saying, this is the person, this is the one, not, changing, but that could change as Saturn starts to move forward. Or you may feel that you are coming out of a period of reflection about this, that you have been looking at maybe dating habits, or what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and making some reassessments about it, which would be very Virgo. So, and all of those things, those are good, because that describes the energy. Now, as Saturn starts to move forward, though, there are going to be some opportunities. A square means that there are opportunities, although it's still a little bit of a fight to maybe get you out of the house or get you to new social events because of your schedule or something like that. So the long story short is there are some good possibilities here. It may not happen right when this full moon is happening. And so you're going to be probably much closer to the next new moon when you get this energy. And also, you're still fighting with yourself a little bit about love, but someone in the world could be fighting their way to you right now, and so you want to be open and let them in. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune, but it is making an opposition with Jupiter, and they are in mutual reception, and so there is a lot of harmony right now in the relationship, even if you're coming from opposite ends of an issue. So, you're a saver, they're a spender, but you can now come together and have a shared financial goal. And maybe that means you loosen up a little bit and they tighten up a little bit, but there's a way to come together. So you've got some very good energy for your existing love relationship over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Venus, which happens to rule this full moon. And so this could be a time where you're making an announcement, doing some marketing, that you're accepting a new job, or you're expanding your business in some way. It shows that you are taking a risk, and that is that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. So a risk doesn't necessarily mean a leveraged investment. It could mean that you are leading a meeting, or saying yes to an interview, or calling up new customers or prospects. But you're pushing yourself. You are expanding your world, and through that, you can make more money. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making an inconjunct with Mars. That means that when you do the stuff you don't really want to do, you make more money. And it's easy to make a list of the stuff you don't want to do, the things you've been procrastinating on. They may be around your website or some sort of technology. Maybe it's about, learning more video editing, or upgrading your email marketing, or looking at your investments in a different way, and really getting into this prospectus of a different investment and reading through all of their filings and that sort of thing. So this is when you do the stuff you don't want to do, but stuff that's necessary, you make more money. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that would be a paycheck, even though the moon's not making an aspect with Venus, Venus is ruling that Taurus full moon. So therefore, there is a connection. And so as you start that conversation with your boss, you can find some common ground to say, all right, you need this and you need me to do these extra things. I want more money. Let's talk about it. So there is a chance that you could get more money if you pursue a raise, or especially if you're changing jobs, to get more money than you've gotten before, but through negotiation over this next 2 weeks. Okay, Libra, where you might be being a freight train and stuck in one direction and not looking at alternatives is in the area of resources. And that might mean that you are seeing only one or two sources of help or money or support. It's also possible that you have X'd out different ideas that could bring you resources, that you don't want to apply for this type of benefit, or you don't want to hire people, or that you don't want to talk to this particular person about any sort of resources they might offer. So now this is also about protection. There's an energy of trying to control here. And so it may be that you are overly protecting yourself. And while in this world today, we can think, well, we need a lot of protection. We have to watch our, what we click on and who's knocking on the door and all of that. You can overprotect yourself so much that nothing can get in. And being Libra is about balance. And so finding a way to balance out protecting yourself with being open and welcoming of new opportunities. That's the energy that's happening for you over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn, nor is it making an aspect with Uranus. However, Venus is in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. Uranus is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. So it's like they're all talking with each other, but like a little bit of a whisper. And that means that there is some subtle energy here to help you meet somebody new. Now, probably the biggest issue, though, is Venus is at the base of your chart, meaning you may not be leaving the house. And so that might mean that you are talking to people at a long distance, through text or video chat, but it may be time to get out of the house and actually have a face-to-face meeting with the person, because that's when you can really feel whether there's a connection or not. So there are some opportunities for you to meet someone new. It's just a matter of getting that to be a face-to-face meeting. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an inconjunct with Mars. That means that the two of you are coming together, but you're bringing stuff to the table that are entirely different and entirely unrelated. This is different than an opposition. An opposition is, one person says this is black and the other person says this is white. And so in the middle, we mix these two colors and we get some gray. But with an inconjunct, it's more that you want to eat dessert and your partner wants to go snorkeling. Like, you cannot combine these two things. It just doesn't mix. And so when you're thinking about your relationship and what your partner is bringing to the table, you may ask yourself, well, what am I not seeing? And how is what I'm thinking they're saying, what else could it be? Maybe ask them the definition of some of the words they're using, and you might find you have a completely different definition. And that can help the two of you come together in a more harmonious way. Now, this inconjunct energy is not necessarily bad. It's still an aspect, and it allows you to work together. But it does take a little bit of patience, because if you really want a dessert and you have a snorkel mask on, your dessert has to wait. I should have said that in the snorkel scenario, you're underwater, because otherwise you probably could have dessert dressed in your snorkeling equipment. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Pluto, which is at the base of your chart. It is still in Capricorn for a few more days, but it's going to be changing signs. And this could indicate that you have some new ideas, there are new things to try, and new avenues to explore. And then Mars just went into a new sign, and that's Leo, and so that also is going to bring you new opportunities and going in a different direction. And so these two are not exactly opposite anymore as they were on the new moon, but they are pretty close. And Mars is going to go retrograde, so they're going to line up again 2 more times, both in 2025. So there is these big opportunities that are coming up, and right now it's just necessary that you explore new avenues and look at new possibilities, ways to expand your market, but also to create a more solid foundation on which, whatever that platform is that you are going to then reach for something higher. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making an out-of-sign semi-sextile to Pluto and an inconjunct to Mars. I had to check. And that means that there are quite a few money-making opportunities to make more money over this next 2 weeks, but none of the things you really want to do. So look at the list that you have for yourself and the things you've been procrastinating on. Those are the things that are going to directly lead to money, even if you're in your mind they don't. But it's with that semi-sextile and with the inconjunct, it's usually the things that are irritating, the things that we feel we don't know how to do, where we feel maybe not ready to take on. Those are the things that move the needle the most. And that's what's going to help you make more money. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, it's an entirely different story. The sun's making a lovely sextile to Pluto. There is such an opportunity now for you to gain more money. The co-ruler of your money is in that house, so that there is like a double push right now. So if you've already started this conversation, then this is a perfect time on the full moon to continue that conversation and bring it to a happy conclusion. if you are just starting out to say, can we meet? This, what the full moon could bring is the actual date when you are in the future going to meet and talk about your race. So, but again, that's good because you'll be setting it up on this positive energy. Okay, Scorpio, where you may be doing the freight train energy is in your area of relationships, and that's all types of relationships. That would include love relationships, business partnerships, close friends, people that you want to meet, connections you want to make. And being Scorpio, you already have some natural freight train energy. That would be determination and grit and resolve that causes you to stay on a path when other people might not. But because this is that freight train energy connected to Uranus, Uranus is asking you to change, and that is, trying to find a way to switch tracks so that you end up going a different direction. So this could manifest as you looking at a relationship and doggedly moving forward on a relationship, even though you know in your heart that it's not going to work, that the two of you are fighting all the time, or you're going in different directions. Or this could be your attitude about making new relationships and forming new partnerships, and that you are digging in your heels and saying, I don't want to do it. I'm going to do this by myself. So either way, the universe is suggesting that whatever you're doing, try something different. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Pluto is making its last in-sign sextile to Neptune. This is the last one you're ever going to get. This does not mean you're not going to have opportunities for love relationships in the future, of course, because you're going to get out of sign sextiles for a very long time. Plus, the co-rulers are going to be making different aspects as we go forward. But this may be one of those times that you really want to capitalize on, because the sextile energy means that when you take a step forward, the universe opens up and gives you the gift. And so that is, if you have been talking to someone, maybe it's time for that first date. If you've been thinking about getting on one of those dating platforms, maybe this is time to, tell the world and show the world who you are through that, or to sign up with a matchmaker, or sign up with a dating service or something like that. So, again, like, this is one of those opportunities that has come along for you. You will have opportunities in the future, but this is a really good one, so you may not want to pass it up. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, you have some interesting energy. Venus is making an out-of-sign semi-sextile with Pluto and an inconjunct with Mars. So the energy's a little bumpy between the two of you. The two of you may be trying to come together to work something out, but because you are coming from your own perspectives, you are looking at things so differently that the other person may not understand. There may be different definitions you have for words that you think you know, but that your partner defines in a whole different way. So you are trying to combine two uncombinable things. It's like, I was thinking of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who would say, like, it's water and oil and some other unmixable thing, so it feels like that. It's you are not blending, but you still have an aspect, so you're coming together, needing to work out something. So that is, open up the lines of communication, consider that you don't know what they're talking about, even if you think you do, and get more information before you move forward. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Jupiter, which is in a money house that is making an aspect to Mercury, which is in a money house, and there's mutual reception going on and all kinds of good things. This is a really strong time for you making money. It requires you to reach out, to create some sort of dialogue or connection going on. This is not about sitting at home and doing the spiritual side of meditating or affirmations. This is you getting up, getting out the door so that you can present your material or make phone calls or send texts or send emails. But reaching out for contact is what directly brings you more money over this next 2 weeks. And then when it comes to money from business or from investments, you have some excellent energy for making more money. This is that opposition between Jupiter and Mercury. They are in opposition as well as mutual reception, and that means that they are talking to each other and that they are understanding each other. So it's very easy for you to negotiate things that you want. Talking to your broker, you can be on the same page. Talking to your business partner, you can find ways to come together. But most importantly, you're just in harmony and in sync with this money energy. So this is a time to really focus on, your business and making money. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, you have all of that good energy, but a lot of it seems to be pointed towards perks and other benefits rather than actual cash. While I see some cash here, it is probably easier for you to get additional time off, a better commission percentage, or work at home opportunities, or something that brings you those sort of intangible, valuable things. That's what it's looking like. You have very good luck in this area right now. Okay, Sagittarius, where you may be a freight train right now is in the area of your job. You might be holding on very tightly to a job that you really don't like or you really don't want, or you may be trying to hold on to an employee who's actually not benefiting your business. This can also be about holding on to a daily habit that's actually not beneficial for you, holding on really tightly to staying up too late, or consuming something that's not beneficial to you, or having some other lifestyle thing that is really detrimental, but you're holding on. Now, traditionally, Sagittarius, you don't hold on so much to things because you're a mutable sign. But if you are Sagittarius, then it is possible that you have Mercury or Venus in Scorpio, which can hold on. So it is possible that your chart does lend itself towards this freight train energy. But it is also possible that once you notice you're holding on to something, you let go pretty quick because, with Sagittarius energy, there is the idea that, oh, am I holding on to this or is it holding on to me? And there's such a desire for freedom that you let go almost, instinctively. And so looking at it from that standpoint, use that Sagittarius energy right now to turn this freight train and get it onto a new track. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mars is making a semi-square with Jupiter. And that kind of indicates that the reason that you are attracted to someone is that they are noticeable in your life, and that may also be the thing that irritates you about them. So, like you like their little laugh, but sometimes it's a little loud, or you like the fact that they are, freewheeling and a free spirit, but that they show up late really bugs you. So it's this sort of combination of energies that is causing you to find somebody right now. And so it's kind of a mixed bag. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's making an opposition to Jupiter, and they are in mutual reception. And that is that Mercury's in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. So they are talking to each other on multiple levels, and that means that you have more harmony in your relationship than you've had in a long time. So the two of you can come together and really understand each other on a core level. So this is such an opportunity for you to talk about big issues, about the future, like if you're a new relationship, when you're going to get married, if this is a long-term relationship, like how do we raise the kids? How do we launch the kids? What do we do about our house? Should we buy a house? these really big questions you guys can handle now because there's such a meeting of the minds between the two of you. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Saturn, which has been retrograde for quite a while, and now on the 15th of November, it goes direct. So right now it's stationary, and now it's going to start slowly moving forward. That means that you have spent weeks or maybe even several months going back over things, considering things, planning, re-evaluating, revising, and now it's time to take all of what you have been working on and go apply it in the world. And that's when the actual money can come in. So this is a time where, if you have not finished up with those sort of things like revamping your website or your sales pitch or deciding what products you're going to sell or what services you're going to do or all of the different ways you're going to make money, you have a few more days to do this as Saturn starts to pick up speed. But there's going to be more and more this feeling of it's time to move forward and see what's going to work and what you need to let just go by the wayside. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you're making about the same as usual. Moon's not making an aspect with Saturn, and I think some of that is because this is starting out on a stationary Saturn, and Saturn will take most of this next 2 weeks just to get up to speed. So that is that a lot of the things that you're sending out into the world are going to take a little bit of time to get back to you. But this energy will line up better in the future, and so you have some really good prospects going forward after this very long retrograde period. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that's a paycheck, it's a little bit of a different story because even though Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn, Venus is in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, and Venus is in a money house. So we like the energy here for at least starting that conversation again with that stationary Saturn. Go slow. You're just planting a seed or two. And these are seeds that then can grow over this next few weeks and bring you some real harvest. So it's necessary now, and I'm talking about planting seeds on a full moon, yes, but what I mean is that it's not so much the full moon energy that you're dealing with at this time, it's that stationary Saturn. So this could be probably seeds that you planted weeks ago that have been dormant all of this time, and now a little bit of water, a little bit of sunshine, and now you start to see the sprouts. So that's what I would expect that you would find over this next 2 weeks is just, some little spark, some little sprout that says something is happening in this direction. And then as Saturn picks up speed, there will be real opportunities, probably before the end of the year. Okay, Capricorn, where you may be a freight train right now, heading in a direction, not being open to change, could be in the area of your kids. And that might mean that there is something that's going on with one of your kids and you are very focused on them going in one direction and you want them to change, but maybe you're not changing. And the things you could change are your expectations, but it also could be your presentation, how you are explaining this to them. So, or you may think that they're the ones who are doing no changing whatsoever and you're trying to attack them from different directions. It's possible that they're using this freight train energy, and so recognize they cannot make that quick pivot, but they could change tracks, and that would be to change very slightly that over time, that takes them in a whole new direction. So being aware of that. Now, this is also in your area of creativity and risk-taking, and so where there could be a lack of change could be around what you're using for your creative inspiration. Maybe you feel like, the algorithm can send you the same videos over and over, and it can feel like, wow, the world is very tiny right now because I'm just hearing the same different things for creative ideas. And so finding a way to break out of the algorithm. Also in risk-taking, you may need to re-examine what your risk tolerances are. Maybe they have changed. As you gain more money, they could change. As you come to a period where you're doing any sort of transition where money becomes more important, you might change. So looking at those sort of energies that you can bring in some new alternatives would then cause the freight train to change tracks. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn, Venus is in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. So you have a hidden aspect. And Venus is in your own sign, so you could attract someone to you. Now, because there's not an aspect, you may not realize that they're asking you out. And so listen to your friends, listen to family members. They may tell you, hey, this person's very interested in you, consider going out with them. And so that's how it can happen. You also have the full moon lighting up this area of your chart. So this means put yourself in social situations, plant yourself in the middle of the room and see who comes to you. You're quite magnetic right now. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. The two of you seem to be a little bit in your own worlds right now. That's okay. You know, you both have lots of things to do. It's just very difficult when there's no aspect and no connection to solve big problems. So if there is a big problem to solve, it would have to come through a third person, kind of a mediator, who could then, you know, say, well, you're looking for this, you know, like you want to know what the schedule is going to be and you want to know what the finances are going to be, that sort of thing. But in general, what this means is you're both in your own little worlds, staying together, but not really interacting in that deeper way that we see with an aspect. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Saturn, which we were talking about, but also Uranus, which is very important in this chart. Uranus, it indicates that a change is needed. And it's interesting because it's sitting next to the full moon, so it's lit up. So the change may be very, very obvious. And that is that an opportunity comes, and this is the thing that you'd been thinking about or talking about. You just mentioned it last week, and now it's right there in your inbox. Or this is something where you've been thinking and mulling over taking a risk in some area, and now you're ready to jump in. And so this is a time to make that announcement, to move forward on something that does expand you outside your comfort zone. This is a good time for change. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you have some very good energy here. The sun's making an opposition to Uranus. That means as you reach out and show the world your talents, that could be your talents with investing, that could be your talents in business, the world then comes and appreciates you by giving you money. So it is likely that you'll be making more money over this next 2 weeks as you reach out to people. It is an opposition, so it is necessary that you get out away from the computer and out into the world, whether that's through email marketing or being on Zoom. I guess that still would be on the computer, but still, those connections are what's going to bring the money at this time. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, Uranus is making a trine to Pluto. This is excellent energy for getting more money in your job. And that could mean actual cash, it could mean perks. This is a time to sit down and talk to your boss about your career trajectory. If you've already started this conversation, this is full moon energy, so it's a good time to complete it, to get something, definitely scheduled into your paycheck. But if you can't get them to, like if you're just starting out, then this is the time to get it into the schedule where you say, okay, this is when we're going to have the meeting about it. And that still would pull the good energy that you're doing right now, even for that future meeting. So this is excellent time if you want more money in your job to have that conversation with your supervisor. Okay, Aquarius, where you may be doing that freight train energy is in the area of home and family. Now, the freight train energy, which is being determined and resolute and unwavering, you have that ability, but you also have the ability to pivot quite suddenly, quite unexpectedly, and you have done that in your life. You will stick to something for a long time, and everybody around you says, oh, you'll be there forever, and then suddenly you just do a quick 90-degree turn and you're going in a whole different direction. Well, right now that energy is needed in your area of home and family, and that may be in how you are interacting with some family member. Maybe they're stubbornly holding on to something and you need to pivot. Perhaps this is where trying to come up with examples on the fly here. This could be that, you know, a family member needs your help and you need to approach them in a new way. This could also be about the dwelling itself, and that would be, you know, should you still live in this location? Should you move? Should you sell the house? Should you take in a roommate? Should you ask a roommate to leave? So should you redecorate the living room? Should you demo the kitchen? So those sort of questions that you maybe have been toying with, maybe have said, I'm not going to make a decision on it. Now is time for that decision. And especially focus on doing something that is unexpected, which is very Aquarian energy in itself. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's not making an aspect with Uranus. However, it is making an aspect to Saturn. Sorry, I have to check. It's Mercury's making a square to Saturn, and Saturn goes direct on the full moon. So that means that this energy is starting out with a stationary Saturn. So you may have an idea that it is time to go out and find somebody, you are ready, and now the energy is going to move at a little snail's pace for a week or two. And so the energy is going to be better as we get closer and closer to the new moon, but right now it's moving so incredibly slowly. So that might mean that you ask someone out and it takes them days to get back to you. You say, oh, do you want to meet this morning? And they want to meet in the late afternoon. Like everything seems like a delay, but that's just because Saturn is stationary and it needs a little bit of time to get up to speed. But at least it's moving forward. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's making an opposition to Uranus. So that means that either you're changing and your partner is ready to accommodate that change, or vice versa, your partner is changing and you are adjusting for them, because you have an opportunity to come and meet in the middle. You can have a good connection, even though one of you is going through some sort of major change, maybe about your job or how you deal with the kids, or just a change of attitude. So, but those changes that are happening, there's a middle ground between the two of you. And so it may be that you've decided you want to change jobs and move across the country at the same time that your partner says they're tired of this house and they do want to move. You know, so some way the two changes that are happening come together in a harmonious fashion. And that's the opportunity over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Neptune, which is in your house of money, as well as Jupiter, which is in your area of creativity and risk-taking. Both of these are retrograde now, which is a time where you may be going back over and trying something you've tried before. Maybe you're doing a little bit of adjustments on it and thinking about things in a slightly different way. But this means that, you know, if you had said, oh, I've tried email marketing, it never works. This, you know, with both planets retrograde, it's time to try again. So, or, you know, I've tried, you know, to update my website and it just didn't work. It's time to try again. So you get the gist. So this is also a time when reaching outward is going to be the most effective. You may have been working a lot on the back office or on the foundation of the business or the foundation of whatever the revenue source is. It's now time to reach out into the world to say, this is what I'm doing, and see what kind of reaction you get. So like test marketing. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you have some very good energy here, because even though Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune, it is making an opposition to Jupiter and they are in mutual reception. And that means that what you are thinking and wanting from your customer also thinks and wants something from you. And so there's a way to come together in harmony. And so you send out your notice and the customer says, I was just thinking of that. I really want to buy it right now. And you say, I'm ready and I have my little Cash App, so everything can come together. So it's very important with an opposition that you are reaching out. And so that you're not just doing this in a vacuum, but you are connecting with other people. But as you do, you could make more money over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money from career, and that would be a paycheck, even though Jupiter's not making an aspect with Neptune, we have so much connected energy with the Neptune, the Mercury, and the Jupiter. It is very likely you could make more money. That is, especially if you had already started this process, because now it's the full moon, now it's the culmination time, where you take the discussions that you've had and you said, all right, now let's, I've done the projects, I've answered your questions, let's talk money. So this could be a very good time for you. You have also the sun elevated in the chart. That means if you are looking for a new job, you are likely to find something that brings you more money during this time. So this is a good 2 weeks to secure more money in your job. Okay, Pisces, where you might be being the freight train is in your area of thoughts and ideas. And that can be that your mind is stuck on some sort of, recurring thought, or there's a song stuck in your head or something like that. Or there is some sort of external communication, so that would be a contract or legal matter, or something someone says to you where you keep having the same conversation over and over again. And you need something to break your way out of this track. And Pisces, you're a mutable sign, and so you don't have the stuckness that some of the other signs have. So you do have, most of the time, you're not going to get too stuck. And so if you are stuck, then it is time for you to look and say, why? Why is this happening? And attack it from some different vantage points. And that might mean, like if this is some sort of recurring argument you're having with a neighbor or a sibling, you would say, well, what if I was arguing the opposite of my position? What if I was taking their position? How would I win this argument? Or you might say, well, what's another way that they could say what they're saying to me and I would agree with them? So looking at it from a whole different perspective. This may mean, if it's a legal matter or contract, that you should stop fighting that and say, how can I compromise, or should I just let this go? So if this has something to do with an activity, and this area of the chart can be activities, it may be that it's just time to do some new activities, that you need to go try something new because you're in a rut. And so you might try a new hobby or some sport or some sort of something in between a sport and a hobby. Like billiards would be in between a sport and a hobby, right? So dance is kind of between a sport and a hobby. So I'm sure you guys have a list you could give me. That would be awesome. So different things that you would suggest that other people would try, put that in the comments. That would be wonderful. But that's where you can switch the tracks on this freight train energy and utilize that Uranus to bring something new and wonderful into your life. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a lovely sextile to Neptune. This is an opportunity for you to go out and meet somebody new. So this would be, try to go to social events, try to be in places where you can meet new people, go to groups where there's a shared activity that you're doing. When you're out trying new things, go try some new things. You could meet somebody new. This is some really nice energy, so you want to grab it. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. However, it's making a wonderful aspect with Jupiter. it's in opposition, but they're also in mutual reception. And mutual reception means there is that they're ruling each other. So Jupiter is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, which is in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. And so they're constantly talking to each other. It's almost like twins, where they have that kind of psychic connection together. And so the two of you have a deeper connection right now, and a way to come together on topics that you've never agreed on, where you can find really common ground, and you can be a real united front on whatever else is going on external to the relationship. So this is such a good opportunity for you to have important conversations, especially about, you know, the future and what you want to do for a living and where you want to live and those sort of things. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Mars, which is now in Leo and in your area of work and routine. So this is a time where you can get an awful lot done, where you're extremely efficient. Now, and you want to really focus on this and focus on money-making activities now, because pretty soon Mars is going to go retrograde. It's going to go retrograde on December 6th, and so that's just after the next new moon. And so we'll talk about it then, but that will be a time where you need to come back and review and reconsider and evaluate all of the things that you're doing. And so right now you want a really strong push forward, and that is just to try all your different pitches and, you know, put out, you know, content if that's what you're doing, or contact a lot of people, or whatever you do for making money. You want to do a lot of that now, because then when it goes retrograde, then you can pull back and start to see what's working, and then you can fine-tune things, etc. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mars is making an inconjunct with Venus. And this means that you can make more money over the next 2 weeks when you do things that you've been putting off, that you don't want to do, the things that seem hard, the things that seem like, I'm not really sure how to do those, and, you know, they have a lot of steps or something like that. But when you do those things, when you talk to the people you don't really want to talk to, when you do the things you've been procrastinating on, that's the things that directly bring you money over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and that would be like a paycheck, Mars is not making an aspect with Saturn, and Mars is in your house of work. So the likelihood, if someone says, hey, we want to give you a raise, they are also going to hand you a lot more work. So be aware that if that's okay with you, then yay, you make more money. But what's more likely is you would probably turn down whatever promotion or transfer this is, because you would say, I'm not interested in that position or that project, that sort of thing. So the energy here, it's going to be better in the future, but right now it is difficult energy for gaining more money in your career. So this is a time where it would be best to streamline what you do during the day. If you can find ways to make it easier to do your job, that's kind of like a little bit of a raise, because now maybe you can get your job done in less time, or it's less stressful, and therefore then you have more energy after hours. So there's always ways to find you know, a way to give yourself more value. It sometimes doesn't translate into cash, and right now that's kind of what it's looking like. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have some videos coming out on Chinese astrology and what the energy signature will be for the year, and so check that out. I have a class coming up in January on Chinese astrology if you are interested. I also have a new book on Chinese astrology coming out in January, so if you're interested in that. And all of that is in my newsletter, and that comes out once a month. It is available on Substack all month long, or you can subscribe and get it right conveniently in your inbox. And so there is a link in the description for signing up. And if you are interested in having a copy of your chart, I will send you a PDF of your chart. It has a bunch of information on it, and then it makes it a little easier to follow along as we talk about the new moon and full moon each month. And so there's a link to that in the description, and I will see you in the next video.